Hey, Los Angeles, the Lakers, the Clippers. It's a big city. There's always something dramatic going on in Los Angeles, and I'm going to talk about my favorite storylines this season. Skinny Luka, maybe dominate. That's still. I think that's still a thing. DeAndre Ayton. Remember when he was like the Hulk at Arizona, looking like a dominant force? Can he be that again? I don't know. Maybe not. But can he be some sort of consistent form of that? Clippers, aging stars. Bradley Beal, what are you doing with your career moving forward? I want to talk about all of those things. I was looking through the Los Angeles Lakers and the Clippers roster, and it's easy to forget some of the moves both of those had made over the offseason. And it's also, it's not even the moves. It's sometimes just the storylines that were already brewing from last season. Will it be LeBron's final season? Is skinny Luka Doncic a real thing? I don't know, how big of a loss is Norman Powell to Miami for Los Angeles, the Clippers? I just have to use the last name here because just saying Los Angeles obviously doesn't make sense. But those things. Chris Paul, he's a Clipper once again. There are several storylines happening in Los Angeles right now and moving forward to this next season that I'm really keen to sort of just dive into a bit because it's always a fascinating place. There's always something going on. And as long as LeBron is in Lakers uniform, there's always going to be attention. And even if he's not in a Lakers uniform, once he retires, there's still going to be a hell of a lot of attention on the purple and gold as a whole. Let's get stuck into it. No more ice-breaking small talk up front. Skinny Luka Doncic. I've touched on this angle somewhat, but I just think we're currently seeing him play at the FIBA Asia Cup. Admittedly, I've not watched many of his games. I've not watched any games. I don't know why I said not many. Literally not even seen barely any highlights of him playing for Slovenia. I just watched Australia and a bit of New Zealand. So there you go. But I did look at highlights before this because it's basically our first look at quote-unquote skinny Luka Doncic. He looks skinny. He looks good. But, you know, as always with these things, you see maybe a glimpse, you see photos, but you want to see it and during the regular season and during playoffs. And just you want to see it on an NBA court, on an NBA floor, because that's what we all kind of look forward to and we all want to see. So the question is, can he actually stay in that good of a nick for the entire season? And will he look any different? There is an argument to be made that, you know, a thicker frame, a more muscly frame perhaps, you know, obviously helps in some aspects with strength. Post-ups. He's a bloody tall point guard. He's just he's a phenomenal type of point guard, and part of that is due to his size. But I think for majority of all those reasons I kind of am trying to allude to, him being skinnier, him being faster, and all that is going to help him. So my question is, will his numbers even be different? Will that actually mean he will, you know, if you just look on paper, will it actually mean he improves? Will it actually mean his stats rise? Or maybe it's a percentage thing. Maybe it's a defense thing. Maybe a defense for sure. That's probably one angle. But to cap off that headline, it kind of leads me to, will this be the season that he actually gets MVP? Will LeBron kind of step over? He's like 40-41. That's crazy. It's still crazy no matter how many times I talk about it. But will this be the season where Luka is the favorite for MVP, even though he's been, I reckon last season people were kind of hyping him up in that regard. So that's one storyline that I'm honestly really curious for. What's Luka's body shape actually going to do for him, and will it equal the MVP type of season, even though he could easily win MVP before all this talk about new transformed Luka? That leads me nicely. I'm going to go with 3 Lakers and 3 Clippers headlines here, by the way. Next, Lakers 1. Obviously, will it be LeBron's final season? I'm so fascinated by what the NBA looks like, and sad for when LeBron leaves, for when he retires. And I have no doubt it's going to be within the next 3 seasons. He's not going to make it past 3. I wouldn't have thought. So maybe this is his last season, or maybe his last proper season. I say proper, and I mean, you know, playing all these minutes, being one of the main men on the team. I reckon he's the type that would, like, I can't imagine him sort of sitting on the bench, not playing a heap, being one of those guys. I could almost imagine him have left last season because, you know, the Lakers season ended and people raise those questions and he kind of just seems a bit deflated. And obviously, anyone's season ends, you're going to be deflated. But I'm really fascinated to see what it actually looks like for him. If it is going to be, how he will handle it. Will he do like the full-on tour and like make it known to the public, make it known to his teammates, the media? Will he do it like that? A la Kobe, the farewell tour. I'm not sure. And I'm not even sure what I'd prefer him to do. You know, as a fan, and I love LeBron. I'm a LeBron guy. Grew up him. He's kind of like my greatest of all time. That's how we kind of put it these days, I think. I'm not sure what I'd want for him. Whether I'd want him, if it was up to me, whether I want him to do like a farewell tour, or whether I'd rather it just happen like almost like last year. They ask him a question, he gives a mysterious answer about his future, and then he just calls it quits. Maybe that's how he's going to go. DeAndre from Luka to LeBron to DeAndre Ayton. I'm just really... I want to see more of DeAndre Ayton because he had 5 seasons, actually. I was going to say 4. He's had 5 seasons in Phoenix. People expected big things, like a top 10 pick, top 5 maybe even. Went to Portland, played 2 seasons there. He had averaged 14 points, 10 rebounds, 1 block in 40 games last season. Injuries, trouble. That was with Portland, and now he's in LA. He's in the bright lights. Now, I mean this with all the respect in the world to you, DeAndre. I'm not sure you're the type of like just a background to like my fandom, I guess. I always want to be positive. I never want to be those people that sort of bash players or be too negative, but human nature is to sort of be interested in the negative or the drama or the... Yeah, I think as humans, that's what we draw to. So I was just going to say, I'm not sure that he's the type of guy to thrive in the bright lights of LA. But I would love to be wrong. Genuinely would. But I'm just not sure because he's had all the pressure of Phoenix, and then he goes to Portland as a new start. Clearly didn't work out great for him, even though injuries were an issue. I'm just curious what he looks like in the LA Lakers uniform, next to LeBron, next to Luka, next to all these cameras, next to all these lights, next to all this pressure. Although, maybe he's used to it by now. He's been a top pick. He's been, people have expected things from him already. People probably expect more things from him now. Or maybe they don't expect as much because people know what type of player he is now. It's that inconsistency. But my main talking point from DeAndre Ayton was, do you remember when DeAndre Ayton was in Arizona? 18-year-old, 19-year-old, whatever, just a young teenager, looking like the Hulk pretty much when he flexed. Like I remember looking at a photo of DeAndre Ayton at Arizona, and I was not a big college guy at that time. And I was like, who is this guy? Surely he's like, 22, 23. Maybe he's a senior. Like he looks old. That dude was built. I mean that in all the greatest respect. He looked built, but he was 18 years old. And some of the players in college, yes, it's college. It's different to the NBA. You're like, this dude is a beast. He's awesome. But you just don't know what those couple guys will turn out to be. And he's just been... Look, he's had his flashes. He had his flashes in Phoenix next to Booker. But I think it always came back down to his consistency, his ability to handle the pressure on those big games. And, just like his effort. I think his effort levels are what people question a lot. And it's interesting because... in Arizona, I remember people referred to him as like DominAYTON. And, fun fact, I was looking at this before. His handle on Instagram is still DominAYTON. Is that fun? I think it's fun. Anyway, he came to Portland. I saw a press conference when he came to Portland, and he actually referred to himself as DominAYTON. Or, it sounds a bit, up yourself maybe? I don't know. But anyway, I love it. Be confident. That's why you are where you are today. But he referred to himself as, he's going to dominate. Or he's dominating, one of the other. Fact check there. Interesting. Can't wait to see what he actually looks like. And I'll probably watch him a lot more than maybe I did in Portland, even though he only played 40 games last season. The baby brother. Do people call the Clippers the baby brother of LA? We've got a thing over here in Australia where there's 2 teams in Melbourne, and we call it like the younger team and the team that came into the comp earlier. The younger cousin of the other Melbourne team. Anyway, I'm not sure if that's the same in Los Angeles. Clippers are actually like a whole lot more respected than they were many, many moons ago, so all the credit to them. But the Clippers, such an interesting team on paper because are their stars washed up? That's what I've got to say. Like, as in, Are they washed up or are they still a championship level team because there's enough of them? And that's a fact. There's enough of the stars already. But you look at James Harden. Great season last season. Kawhi Leonard. He started to look like the Kawhi Leonard of old. I believe in Kawhi. I believe his game will age well if he can stay healthy. But Bradley Beal is the one, and he deserves a whole different conversation by himself. What does Bradley Beal's career look like from here on out? Because it was basically the guy in Washington. Yes, he had John Wall. Those two were the men in Washington. Maybe not the guy, but he's probably the second fiddle to John Wall. But for a lot of the time, if John Wall wasn't out, he had no problem being the one and the number one option. Not the one as in the point guard, but he can do a bit of that as well. But it's just very interesting what he's going to look like because his Phoenix stint and all that, like you kind of just forget what type of player he was in Washington, really. I do. And I used to really like watching Bradley Beal. I know Bradley Beal was like a favorite player of my brother. He used to love watching him, but I have not heard a peep out of my brother's mouth about Phoenix Bradley Beal because there just wasn't much to be joyful about. There wasn't much to sing from the rooftops about Beal. It's just an interesting one. They're all 32 plus years old, but as I said, LeBron and CP and KD and all those guys have kind of made age a bit more, not as dramatic, as in like you can last longer age-wise. You can play older. You can keep that consistency and quality up in your late 30s. So maybe it doesn't matter. But Kawhi, I think, is 32, or maybe it's Beal. One of them's 32, Harden's 35, and no, Beal's 32, I think, anyway. Regardless, I'm just very curious to see what they look like because on paper, they look pretty good. Those stars look pretty good, but they've all got injury history. Harden? Maybe not James Harden. Maybe a bit. And it's just sort of like it feels like a random team. And that leads me to my next headline that I wrote down. It's a random supporting cast. It does feel like that. My brother's getting a big shout out on this episode because he's a Clippers fan. Used to love it. Al Thornton, Eric Gordon. Those Clipper days. Those were the days he used to talk about Clippers. But now it's just like a random assortment of stars. Elderly stars or sort of just stars that haven't worked out or semi-stars that haven't worked out on other teams. And here you go. You can be a Los Angeles Clipper. That's kind of what the Clippers remind me of, for sure. So it's very interesting what their random supporting cast is. Norman Powell went to Miami. He was a big part of their culture and like their identity. You thought of the Clippers, you probably thought of Norman Powell's bench scoring. Even as a starter, he kind of made a name for himself more and more there, like as that consistent weapon that could average 20 plus points. That's identity. Then he goes to Miami. They bring in Brook Lopez, Chris Paul, which I love. I just love it. John Collins, he's pretty good for Utah, but he's becoming more and more of a journeyman. I think it's only Atlanta, Utah, Clippers now, but still, he strikes me as a type of guy that might continue to move around unless he finds a home. He might be a Clipper for 10 years. I don't know. Could be. But that supporting cast joins Avika, Zubac, Ben Simmons. I had some moments last season. I said I was positive. I try to be positive with players. Ben Simmons had some positive moments when he came back for the Clippers. Maybe 3-4 games, and then he kind of just disappeared again. But finding his role. Bogdanovic, weird fit with that team now. Chris Dunn. I love Chris Dunn. Something about him. And Nick Batum remain. But they just feel like a random supporting cast in a kind of a random roster. I know James Harden and Kawhi Leonard have been there for a bit, but they do still feel like a bit of a random team. So I'm very curious to see if they can actually have a year where they're like, hey, we are legit championship contenders. We can do this. We will stay healthy. We're not too old. And we can make a deep run. I don't have faith that is what will happen. They've had change. They've had turnover. You bring in Beal. You get rid of Norman Powell. It's just a bit... Maybe it's too soon for like a newish roster to actually have that run. Considering it's quite significant pieces that are new. That's all I'll say. Finally, can we just get Chris Paul a ring? Can we just promise that whoever you go for, whatever happens in the playoff, if Chris Paul is there, we will align together and march for his ring, his first ring in his career. And then he can retire. He can retire happy. I will be happy with that result. And I'm sure many other players and fans will probably be happy with that result, even though he's kind of like a controversial player where you kind of love or hate him. But at this stage of his career, just remember, folks, he's the point guard. He's been around for so long. He's done his thing for so long. He continues to do his thing. He's a bit of a journeyman now. And journeymen, all journeymen, especially one like top 10 point guard ever, top 5, whatever you want to say, top 3 ever, he deserves a championship. Okay? He just does. That's my final point. Can we please align to get Chris Paul a ring in Los Angeles? It's just, these are the storylines that are perfect. They really are. And it's something I'm excited for. I reckon out of all these Los Angeles storylines with both Lakers and the Clippers, my mind goes to the old guys. LeBron's final season. LeBron and Chris Paul's final season in LA together. Could be. Who's to say that won't happen? They're my favorite storylines. Regardless, there's always something going on in Los Angeles. That's why it's kind of cool to look at. It makes sense that LeBron would kind of finally pass the torch to Luka Doncic. Wins his MVP. Lakers do well. They go out on a high. Many things can happen. Many things. Tell me which team you'd prefer. Would you prefer the drama and chaos of the Lakers and all that attention that goes to LeBron, or maybe I'm buying into the Clippers team? I don't know. It's kind of interesting which team I would buy more into at this point. I'd go Lakers. I just think Luka, clearly something is going on there. And LeBron is LeBron. Ayton, maybe he'll be better than people expect. Anyway, that's a wrap. Los Angeles. Drama. But fun. Drama, but a fun town. I'll go now.